Due to the unpredictability of Lexer's behavior, listener discretion is advised. The VoT Network presents the Voices of Terminus show with your hosts, Yarnilla, Lexer, and Joshua.
Take two!
Take two, here we go! Welcome to the Voice of Terminus show. I'm Yanella, joined by Josh. Say hello, Josh.
Hi guys.
And we have Lex with us. Say hello, Lex. Hi. We have some very special guests with us who are having a blast. BattleAxtheatre Punk Dev. Say hello, guys.
What's up, guys?
So,
if you can hear us.
Please give us a thumbs up if you can hear everybody. Right, so before we kick this off again, let's go over to the news and see what's been happening this week. So, on December 3rd, the Nathan Napalm released the Pantheon Dropper Spills on Beans, No Beans show with his puppets doing some wonderful work again. If you haven't checked that out, you definitely need to go and see that. And then on December 4th, BxT TV released a video talking about the best Aradoon moments in Pantheon Rise of the Fallen. So if you've missed that one, go check that out as well. And then on December 5th, Pantheon Plus U released episode 14 with co-host the Nathan Napalm. And they talked about moving forward, confidence basically going forward with Pantheon Rise of the Fallen. And then on December 5th as well, BxT TV released yet another video talking about the who's who within the Pantheon community, be it content creators on YouTube, Twitch, you name it, even websites and everything, so go check that out. And then on December 6th, the Nathan Napalm released another video talking about some of the facts that Dropper put out on telegraphed attacks. So if you haven't checked that out and you're interested to know how Pantheon's approach is going to be, I highly recommend you check that video out. So, let's get back to the show. And it wouldn't be a VoT show if we didn't have any of these glitches, and it wouldn't be a VoT show and a great way for us to end the year, because yes people, this will be our final show for this year. We will be officially back on the 18th of January. So we'll be taking a longer break because obviously we have the festive season. Normally, we would have our end of year show towards the end of the year, but a lot of things are going on in our real lives that require our utmost attention at the moment, and this also gives us time to upgrade the VoT show itself that we've been wanting to do for a very, very long time. So we're going to use that time to get everything sorted out and come back fresh and motivated for the new year. But anyway, enough of us. Let's go and talk to these wonderful gents, Punk and Dev.
So, Punk.
Yeah.
Can you give us?
Oh, you're gonna make him start first.
Wait, I thought I was going first.
All right. Well, let's do Punk and let's do Dev then. Give us some insight into your gaming background, please.
Like I said earlier, but no one can hear. I still got my original Nintendo systems from back in the day. So, I started off there, and then my first, when I was 12, 13, I started getting into PC gaming, and, games like Age of Empires, Unreal, Duke Nukem, Doom, all these great, PC games. And then this game called EverQuest came out. We had to have this thing called the internet, and that pretty much was my childhood and my young adulthood. Played that game forever, and then moved on to other MMOs as time went on, like World of Warcraft and ESO and Guild Wars 2, and here I am today with the massive account of game ADD. So
Brilliant.
Yeah, it's bad.
Play a little bit of everything.
Right, and yourself, Punch?
I'm kind of the same thing. I think most of us have had those classic consoles and such, but mine really I was really a big RPG gamer. Like PS1 era was like the golden era of RPGs for me. Like I played all the different Final Fantasies, Wild Arms, Star Ocean, all those games that were out back then. And I fell in love with RPGs as a teenager. And so when, EverQuest Online Adventures came to the PlayStation 2, I was pretty stoked about that. And I jumped in, and I remember spending, the first night playing, running 2 hours across the world to try to find my friend who bought the game on the same night. That was an experience, but being a big Final Fantasy fan, about 2 months later, or a short period after I got it, found out Final Fantasy 11 was coming to the PlayStation 2, and I didn't have a PC that could run MMOs, so I latched onto that, and I played Final Fantasy 11 for about 6 years, and that's kind of my background as far as old school MMOs are concerned. And then I've tried just about any modern MMO that's really come out. It's a problem. A good one to have.
Brilliant. So following from that, could you guys just give a bit of background on your computer setup as well?
Yeah. You want me to go, Def?
Yeah, you can tell them what I'm running since you built it.
Sure, I'll do that too. We're both running on Ryzen 7 machines. He's got my old Ryzen 7 1800X system that I built shortly after the Ryzen launch. I upgraded the 2600X. He's running on an RX 480, a mid-tier card, and I'm running on like a high mid-tier RTX 2070. So hopefully we're Pantheon ready.
Definitely.
Yeah.
I would hope so, because if not, that means I ain't going to reach. Oh, good Lord. So, Def,
Uh-oh.
what has been your best and worst moments in an MMO?
Probably getting my 1.0 Monk Epic in EverQuest, because that was I don't know, man, that took months and months and months to get. A lot of hard work, a lot of hours, a lot of fighting over camps and whatnot, and having to get the whole entire guild to meet up in Lake of Eloman to kill Khazad-dûr was such a, like, these guys are doing this for me, man. It's so cool, you know what I mean? So it was a really proud moment when I put those knuckles on my fist. My worst, I can't think of anything. It's probably going to be something regarding a death loop or two in EverQuest, because that would happen. I've been in plenty of death loops, and those were never fun. But I can't pinpoint a specific worst moment. I can't really think of anything off the top of my head. So, yeah.
I would consider that a good thing, though.
I mean, yeah. If you don't have any bad memories, that's great.
Yeah.
I'm
God,
sure
I wish I could say that.
I can't remember last week, man. So I'm sure there's some bad moments out there.
What about you, Punk?
My best moment was probably for any of you World of Warcraft players there, was doing Sindragosa hard mode 25 back in the day when it was current content without full buff from the zone buff. And a very extremely complex fight, and people just didn't want to stand where they needed to do. And there's a lot of mechanics that would take place. So guilds would spend weeks, if you weren't like in Method or something like that, you'd spend weeks and weeks and weeks, sometimes months, trying to kill Sindragosa. And when we finally got that down as a healer, because it's a healing intensive fight, to be able to get that down, and to hear the cheers in Discord, well, not Discord, but whatever it was back then, Ventrilo. Those are the moments that you live for. So I think that was probably one of the best memorable moments that I had in any MMO. And my worst moment actually takes place in a little MMO that most people here probably haven't played, and if they had, they maybe logged in and left. It was Trove. Have any of you guys ever played Trove?
Nah.
It's like a Minecraft MMORPG without high quality textures. And the reason why it was bad for me is I worked my butt off for a dragon mount, an epic legendary dragon mount. And it took a little bit of luck and took a little bit of monetary investment. And there was an alternate currency that we used as money in the game. And I had continued to play this game free to play for about a year and a half. And got all the additional perks that you get from the pay store just by simply grinding in the game. So I get this dragon, and they introduced like an auction house system, and I put this dragon up, and I thought I was putting it up for one of those alternate currencies that was like a coin that you use to upgrade your gear to higher levels, and it was worth 4 of those. And what I did was I accidentally listed it for 4 of what would essentially have been like a worthless currency or a very bloated currency. So I should have gotten 4 million of the currency, and I put it up for 4. So when I accidentally listed it for that alternate currency, someone immediately snatched it up. I communicated with the devs. They said they couldn't restore it because it would put a duplicate item into the gaming universe, and I haven't been back since.
I could understand, because I wish I could say I've never done that. I remember selling, Vanilla WoW. There was a purple sword that dropped. I can't remember the name of it anymore. That was back when purples were crazy to have, and I accidentally put it up for 1 gold.
Oh, the Trollblade? That sound right? Trollblade?
That's it!
Yeah. That thing sells for like 300 right now on Classic, so
yeah,
I can feel your pain.
Yeah, because I meant to put it up for 1,000, but I was talking to someone at the same at the time, and I think I hit the minus key instead of the 0. And I didn't look, and I just like submit, and all of a sudden it sold, and I was like 1 gold. I was like, no! But yeah. So I definitely feel your pain. So, Punk, where in the world are you located?
I am in the beautiful state of Arkansas. It's awesome here. I moved here from Tampa, though. So I lived in the Tampa Bay area in Florida for most of my life. And we moved up here last year to kind of get away from a couple things. Cost of living, that was the biggest one. And to get somewhere where there's more nature and less city, because I was kind of burnt out on the city life.
Yeah. Now, Dev, I'm assuming you live pretty close by, especially if Punk built your PC.
Close.
Yeah. What are we, like 4.5 hours away?
On a good day, yeah.
Yeah. I'm from East Texas. That's where I live.
Okay.
I'm a Texan. Yeehaw.
Cowboy hat, man. Come on.
Yeah, I don't have my cowboy hat on. Put it on, but sorry.
This is the face for streams, man. You turn the camera, he's got his Wranglers and his cowboy hat and his Justin boots hanging on the wall.
You got the full denim outfit. The denim.
I know, man.
Because I'm there, man.
You're looking for something, buddy. It's gonna fall on you in a minute.
My chaps. I have my chaps over there. Okay.
But that's unrelated to Texas.
Anyway, let's go move into the introduction of Pantheon. I'm going to actually turn these 2 questions into one. And we'll start with you, Dev. When and where did you hear about Pantheon first, and what was your initial reaction to learning about it?
Well, like I said, I can't remember last week, but I remember hearing about the Kickstarter, and I remember hearing that it failed. And I never thought to, keep in touch with it. I thought the game wasn't happening, and I just kind of moved on with my other games and whatnot. And then, I don't know if it was whenever our first Pantheon video went out. Wasn't that 2017 of around this time of year, Punk? Something like that?
2018 in November. Mm-hmm.
Oh, okay. So shortly before that video, I discovered how I ran across a YouTube video. I actually think it might have been you guys. And I'm like, whoa. And then I got to digging and looking into it. And I'm like, oh, Brad McQuaid's doing another game like that. And then, got excited. And ever since then, we've been pretty pumped about it.
Yep, so that's the incentive to switch over to you, Punk.
Yeah, I mean, I actually heard about it from him, and your timeline's off, bro, because you brought it up before I moved back in August of last year. But it was just in passing. You're like, yeah, I remember hearing about this game, and then nothing was said about it for a couple of months. And then all of a sudden, he's like, dude, that game's actually still being made. And then you pull up Basgrim's video and a VoT stream, and you told me about that. And that's kind of where the hype began. We're like, oh, this is cool. And we started looking more into it and looking into all the different systems. And at the time, there was a bunch of streamers covering things. So there was kind of this hype. Like we almost anticipated a launch. So we were prepping to do our monetary contribution to the game, our pledge. And that's how we heard about it. I mean, it was pretty huge. Like it seemed like it was going to be right around the corner when we heard about it last year.
Yeah.
At least the alpha or beta.
Cool.
Sounds can be deceiving.
So next, that brings you up.
That's you.
No, that's you. I put mine
You got-
into a
you-
two-part. You got to listen.
Oh,
You have to listen!
La-di-da, mister. I don't know how to use a computer.
You're not the only one who can actually combine questions, you know.
I don't know. I was starting to wonder there for a little bit.
Oh,
Fun.
keep
I'm
on
not
par,
even-
man.
I'm not even going to read this one then.
What's
Yeah,
happening?
meme it.
No. Def, when it comes to Pantheon, what about it specifically over other MMOs has you really excited? Wait, was that the question? Okay, yeah, what was the question?
Actually, let's go pick
Well,
out questions
I'll-
randomly, shall we?
We should.
Through the
I'll
colours.
answer it. I gotta say, it's just bringing it back to the old school, and in some of these Pantheon mechanics, like the progeny system and all that. I think just a mixture, a combination of all these new systems that they're coming out. Some other, some MMOs have systems like that, but just kind of the mixture of all of that. The fact that I don't have time to play 6 hours a night these days. I love that they're targeting for that 2.5 hour playtime a night deal. I'm really excited about that, and just just bringing it back, with the community matters. That's what I'm most excited about.
Cool. What about you, Punk?
I think for me, it's there's not a specific system because I think we see different elements or other iterations of some of these systems that are going to be in Pantheon. Not to say that they don't have some completely new and unique systems. So everything that Def had just mentioned is something that's got me excited, like more advanced weather systems. I think for me, it's to see an old school styled MMORPG being developed by experienced people within the industry. And you have games like Project Gorgon and other games out there that try to capture that element of the old school, but they're a small team and they don't have the connections and things like that to produce a game that is also visually appealing. And the core mechanics are sound, but then when they try to do like a new offshoot that they haven't worked on in a previous game, they just don't feel as well as they would in that environment. So to see that and to see what the previews that we've seen, provided it's not embellished, it looks like it's very promising. So I think it's going to be one of those games that it gets put out there and it's going to push the industry in one way or another, and that's why I'm excited for it, because it's going to be such a disruption from the norm what is now WoW clones and Korean MMOs.
Nice. So moving along to the Pantheon racer. Which of the races in Pantheon has caught your guys' eyes the most?
Def, you're super passionate about yours, bro. Tell them all about it.
Got a big chest tattoo of it.
I'm gonna be a dwarf. I'm just fascinated with dwarves. But what has my eye the most is I think the gnomes are just so freaking cool. Like I'm definitely, my ult is gonna have to be a gnome. I'm gonna have to play one.
Well, like good life sources in dungeons, that's for sure.
Yeah. I love the if I roll a dwarf paladin, I'll be a light source in some scenarios, I guess.
Light source, you're absolutely right.
See, I'm going to roll a gnome alt too, but I'm going to call him Duracell.
Then I'm going to take a pole and stick it up your ass.
Oh,
Carry you around the whole way.
I'm gonna be a lamp.
Maybe I should, and then people can run around and be like, I love Lamp! Hi guys, I love you too!
Just name the character Lamp.
I should.
Are you good, Dev? You want me to talk?
Yeah, you go ahead.
For me, it's the halflings. I've been obsessed with halflings since I started playing 2nd edition D&D back in the day, and I just love the concept of a halfling, and then how, in a way, Pantheon Rise of the Fallen took that whole concept of the halfling and kind of did this with it. They broke it, and then they patched it back together with lore that kind of makes sense. And I just love, it's like, being a forever child and just imagining what it would be like to be that race and just having a child's mentality in a way forever. I think that'd be fantastic.
Don't need to imagine that. We men have that all the time, don't we? So,
all I know is whenever a halfling gets in my group and they kind of start annoying me, like, that's it, go to your room, no dinner.
Oh.
You've already, guys, Def, you already basically mentioned this classes already, which start to plan to start with at launch, and so have you, Punk. So let me go and try and come up with, so based on the classes, right, which of them do you like the least? And we'll start with you, Def.
On the classes I like the least. Probably Wizard. I mean, I know the system in Pantheon's a little different, but it seems like it's going to be a lot of, just nuking. Mm-hmm. It wouldn't be my play style, just nuke and med.
Yeah, same reason I never play casters usually.
Alright, so Punk, what about you? What class do you start to plan with to play at launch?
I'm going to start off as a druid if Bard is not available. If Bard is available, I will probably start that. I think I'll play them equally until I figure out which one I like best, but if Def does end up going something tanky, I would like to have something complementary to that, so that way when we're out in the world, just the two of us, we can, stay alive and get stuff done.
Cool.
Nice. So, in terms of racial lore, have you guys noticed anything good, and what is your favorite of this type of lore? Start with you, Pantheon.
Again, the halfling lore is my favorite. I love the take on the gnomes. Honestly, as far as Pantheon is concerned, their unique take on all the racial, lore and how the races have come to the planet, all of that is super impressive because it's completely unique. It's still in the MMO genre. It's still in the fantasy genre. It still takes those races that we're familiar with, but it totally modifies it in a way where it's almost sci-fi. But for me, it's like my favorite thing really is like a true lore, because no one's ever really given a lore to why halflings are small and little jolly creatures. And the lore that they've given to them, it just makes it like, it makes perfect sense. Like that's what a halfling is, and that's why they are them. And, good job.
Yeah. And yourself, Dev?
I just would basically echo Punk. I agree with everything he said. And like I said, I can't remember last week, so I've read up on the lore. I can't remember every detail, but everything that I've seen every Chris Kane video, and I get so immersed into it, and it's just awesome. Everything's awesome. I don't think there's been any lore that's kind of mediocre.
Yeah, I'd have to agree with that. So on a scale of 1 to 10, 10 being must have, 1 being eh. Punk, how important is lore to you?
I think it's a strong 8. I think there are other things that are more important than such an immersive lore, especially when we're talking about so many races and classes, but and for such a small team. But I think it's super important because I'll say it time and again, it's something that's brought me back to previous games. Like I would quit playing WoW, and then I would read a book, and then I would go back to playing WoW because I read a WoW book, or I quit playing Final Fantasy and I'd go back and play one of the old Final Fantasy games, and there'd be like a lore that wasn't necessarily related to Final Fantasy 11 or Final Fantasy 14, but it reminded me of, the background of that style of class, or job even. So I would always return to the game, whether it be WoW or Final Fantasy or, whatever, because I wanted to re-experience that or, go a little bit further and find out more about it that's in that particular universe.
Right. And as a second part of this, I'm going to ask you, do you think Pantheon would still be as popular, or at least as such a high profile as it is right now, if it weren't for the lore that it has right now?
That's tough, because I really feel like Pantheon itself as a premise as a whole didn't start as a lore-based game. I think it started more of a mechanical game. These are the mechanics we want to see. This is the stuff from EQ Next that we didn't get to do. This is the stuff that we tried in Vanguard and it failed, or we wanted to put in Vanguard and it never happened. So we're going to make our own game. Let's put these mechanics together. But then they were like, wait, we got to have a lore. And if you guys recall, the game didn't even start off in the direction that it is. And the whole premise of Rise of the Fallen, it kind of relates to the whole process of development. Mm-hmm. So that in and of itself, like, I think that would have driven the game in a way, but the lore, it really just, like, for us lore heads out there, I think it adds a certain element to it. And then people like Chris Kane stepping in and, people in the community contributing on the forums with lore that's not actually in the game, but they're writing, their own fan fictions and stuff like that. I think that is super important. And I think it has added this massive dynamic to the game. And in short, I don't think it would have had as much of an impact, but I think it's definitely helping carry the game forward.
Awesome. So how about you, Jeff? How important is the lore?
I would say it's kind of hard for me. It depends on how it's delivered, like how you receive the lore, how, is it going to be in the game? I think it's important, though. I think you got to be immersed in a story. You got to feel like it's got to feel like a home. You got to know what's going on. So I'd say probably 8.5, 9, something like that. Yeah. Okay.
And do you feel that Pantheon would be as popular as it is, especially amongst us old school players, if it didn't have the lore it has?
I don't think it would factor into that. I mean, like, I remember EverQuest not having any lore at all, basically. And you had to go onto a website and read it,
Mm-hmm.
And people just ate it up. People loved it once, now it has more lore because it just went on throughout the years and it's got a nice background story and all that. So I don't think lore would have, kind of like, again, what Punk was saying, it was the mechanics, that old school feel, bringing it back to where you have to depend on other people to actually play an MMO, making an MMO again,
Mm-hmm.
So, but I do think lore is important, especially how it's delivered.
Cool.
So let's go talk a bit about mechanics and we'll look at the in-game economy. How would you like to see the in-game economy handled for a global auction house or city-based auction houses, or would you like to see local town auction houses or something like that? We'll start with you, Punk.
I think I'd like to see a combination of both. We came up with a really cool system that would be awesome in games. We did a video on the economics of an MMO and specifically related to Pantheon and things that they could do. And one of the things that we came up with was, why don't we have, like, you would walk into like a commerce area, a market, and there would be a global chat that would take place in that market because there would be like a wizard or something that stands off to the side and is able to link communication between all of them. So in a way, it's global, but it's also localized. And then there's secondary systems where you have, like, if you take into account like these games that are like pirate MMOs and stuff like that, where you're trading resources through ports and whatnot. And if you bought something off the auction house, like, let's say you went into town and you could communicate with people, like you could shout, because I don't want to hear people when I'm out leveling. If I walk into the market district, I want to hear everybody who's in the market district. But let's say there's something not available in that particular town that you're in. You can either talk to like a registrar there and get information on which auction house has it in stock, or you can shout and try to get it. But if you have to get it from another auction house, maybe you can order it from that registrar and then they ship it from another continent. So it's not an instant thing and you have to wait, a 1 game day to get your, commodity or your item. Like, I just think there's so much that can be explored that it's one of those things that I don't think people really look at enough. And they just kind of assume it's got to be one or the other, but there's so many new systems they could add.
Mm-hmm.
Cool. Def, anything to add to that?
No, I mean, we like he was saying, we made a video about this topic. We kind of go in depth into it, you know, and I don't like the idea of global auction halls. I want it to be kind of localized, or, you know, like you have to go get your shipment from a dock or something like that, you know, all kinds of neat ideas that we went on in the video. So again, I'm kind of with Punk on that whole thing.
Maybe they could have, like, you know, maybe they have to evolve first. You know, they start off locally, and then hey, all of a sudden they got a website, and now it's worldwide shipping.
Yeah.
I mean, I would love to see something like that, something that gives it a sense of realism.
Yeah, I want it to be a personal experience, not just you go click on a menu, you buy it, and it's sent through your mail. You know, go pick it up from the shipping department or something. I don't know.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Interesting. Right. So with
Sorry.
With environmental systems, weather systems, and perception systems currently touted in the game itself, as some of the mechanics that will be used, do you feel that these type of systems are going to enhance Pantheon, or are they going to limit Pantheon in the long run? And how do you see them working together? I'll start with you, Dev.
I love it. I think they're going to work well together. I think, you know, like the environmental system, you know, you're going to have to get gear, or however they're going to do it. You're going to have to, you know, they may have touched on this, you know, you're going to have to be equipped for it. You're not going to be able to just walk in willy-nilly and just, oh, it's cold here. You know, you're going to need to get special armor or whatever, you know.
Yeah.
Same thing with the perception system. It's going to make adventuring, you know, you're going to get sidetracked. You're going to be exploring. New things are going to pop up. And, you know, like, hey, man, check this out, you know.
Yeah.
I love that whole idea. So that combined with the weather system and all of it, I think it's going to work really well together. I don't think it'll harm at all.
I can see Lexa now walking, you know, in-game with his character, walking down his path, picking up every single stone, turning it over.
Maybe you, I won't be. I'll be the guy walking and go, oh, you're an NPC, are you a guard? You're dead.
The question here is, though, you've got a perception system in the game, but how perceptive is Punk, and how perceptive is Death?
Yeah.
You might have it in the game, but if I don't see it...
See, I'm actually...
Do you see it? What are you talking about? Do you see it? What are you talking about? Do you see it? What are you talking about?
See, I'm actually kind of afraid to stream Pantheon when it goes live, because I get so tunnel visioned on one task that I don't see anything else.
Yeah,
so like when
they'll be yelling at you.
They'll be blasting your chat, dude.
Unless there's fireworks coming off my screen and bells and whistles, if I'm tanking, I don't notice it.
So, a request to VR, just for, you know, people of similar interest to Lexa, could you add in fireworks display that can be turned on and off, obviously per option, so that people that get sidetracked and kind of like have tunnel vision and don't really see what's going on their screen.
See, I don't know if I would laugh or if I'd be insulted if I saw a checkbox that said Lexer mode and it just turned everything like really bright contrasted colors.
That would be perfect, and they would put it in the accessibility settings.
Yeah, exactly.
This is Lexer mode because he's just such a special little guy. I think I'd sit there and just look at my option screen and go, ooh, huh. When I turn it on, it's like, oh god, my eyes are blind.
I do hope they don't have any like sparkles or anything like that, kind of like WoW does. You know, you see something on the ground that's sparkling. I don't want that.
So, Def, what about shinies?
Yeah.
What about shinies? I hate shinies.
Shinies can go to hell.
I love shinies.
No.
Shinies!
Shinies! Yes.
I hate them. They were the death.
See, Def and Punk, you see what I'm dealing with now. I'm dealing with a bunch of shiny...
Yep.
visitors.
Hey, Lex, me and you are dealing with them, alright?
Think about what you say.
Just heal us, that's all. That's all, you just have to heal us.
I hate shinies. They drive me nuts.
Yeah. There's always at least two in your group. Don't worry,
Shy. We'll handle that. And when they're missing one, Well, too bad they won't be asking us for it.
And
I'll be missing more than one, I'll tell you that.
I mean, you're in this massive fight, this intense
love
fight, and you've got
shinies.
these two people that are basically debating over the shiny. It's
So
ridiculous.
isn't that usually you and me?
No. I always ignore the shinies. Don't bring me into this boat.
I can remember you in groups going after shinies, going, ooh, I got it. Get out of my way. I'm coming through.
You must be a delusional woman.
Oh,
You must have me mistaken with another yarn.
This
Well,
must be
another-
somebody else.
yeah, that's
That was partner, not yarn.
Oh, okay. Just happen to have the same name and the same voice. Gotcha.
Anyway,
See,
I think we were stuck on this question. I think we ended with death. And let's try and swing it in and get Punk's.
Punk, you say you're going to go for a druid. Do you think the weather system is going to be something that you're looking forward to?
I mean, honestly, I've never had any experience with that, with like the EverQuest or anything like that, so I don't really know. I mean, I guess it's kind of cool how there's certain impacts that birds can have on the weather and vice versa, but after playing Project Gorgon with their weather systems, just walking into a snowy zone and then going, oh, you're going to die of frostbite because that's a thing, and I've never experienced that in a game. I think I'm looking forward to that the most, and the perception system is going to drive lore in a certain way, as long as they do it right. After seeing the previews on the previous stream, I'm kind of concerned that some things are going to be a little bit too visually intrusive and non-immersive in regard to the perception system, but think they're going in the right direction if they can remove like some of the borders and stuff like that. But the weather systems are going to be super cool. I like, how it's not necessarily just I need some colder clothes or warmer clothes for cold climates or whatever. It's a matter of visiting there and also getting acclimated to it, which is super cool. Like I've never heard of anything like that before, and it makes sense because that's kind of like what we do. You live in the north for 20 years, you get used to the cold.
Exactly. That's spot on. Oh, good views. Yeah.
Now, I'm curious if either of you guys are crafters and how you might view crafting in Pantheon with the way they've talked about it. Let's start with you, Dev.
Okay, here's the thing, man. I hate inventory space. Okay? I'm going to start off with that. I hate it. I'll complain about it, my bags being full all the time. You can ask Punk. Yeah, it's so I don't know what the loot system's going to be like and how full your bags get. That being said, I'm the type of person where I do crafting, but I set aside a specific day for it. Like I'll collect all my materials and I'll spend a whole day just working on my crafting. Then I'm just back out questing or leveling or whatnot. I personally won't be crafting as I'm leveling. I doubt it, but the game's not out, so I can't really say that for sure. But that's just how I normally operate.
Right.
So what would you say is your problem with all the loot that you have? Are you a loot hoarder? Huh?
Be honest, Dev.
Or forget to sell her.
This guy has stuff that he got when we were questing at level 12 in WoW Classic because he might use it.
I mean,
in his
that was
bags,
a lot
not
of
his
high
It'll be
lore,
useful
man.
in the future.
They're going to upgrade this weapon. Trust me. I have a feeling.
The only time I sell stuff from my inventory is when it says that it's only usable to a vendor.
Yeah.
That's kind of me. And then I want to hoard it all on an alt or something,
Yeah. Or when I'm questing, I usually end up deleting stuff rather than just selling it.
Yeah.
The worst thing is though, getting an item for starting off some heritage quest or what's the other one that we had, Josh, in EQ2? You had the heritage quest and then you had the other one. Shy, help us out.
Is that the shoes?
Do what?
You had the heritage quest and the other one that you could do, the other series.
Oh, jeez.
You had like your normal, your class specific quests and things like that.
The racial quest?
The what?
The racial quest?
No, the that's the heritage ones. Anyway, right, you get my point. Heritage quest, class related stuff. You used to get an item sometimes that had absolutely no description on it. It had no value, nothing. those were the most annoying things that you would have. Because I remember getting my feather when I did my druid ring quest for my warden. I remember getting this feather and it had no value, nothing on it, but it had, but it looked really cool. I kept that thing for like 10 years before I deleted it. Because I thought that, hey, because there was talk of the channeler coming in as a new race and everything, and I thought, I'm sure this has got something to do with with unlocking this race that you can play from the start. So I kept that thing for 10 years before I finally deleted it. That's the worst thing though that they could do in MMOs, is add in items that have absolutely no value whatsoever. You can't sell it to a vendor, you can't sell it to an NPC, you can't put it on the broker or anything like that. It's just there. And it gets you scratch your head going, am I going to need this? I remember when they did that with the small black rock. At the very early days of EQ2, there was a heritage quest with a small black rock, blue rock, or I think it was, and it was only later on, after people figured out what this was for, it was also one of these items that you didn't know anything about, but it was needed actually for the heritage quest, and that basically kind of got this phobia for me. Don't throw anything away, because you never know what these devs are going to do. You delete that item, it's gone, you're buggered.
Yeah.
Yeah, EQ1 was bad about that too.
Yes, it was. Really bad. Except they didn't tell you when something was worth it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
God. But what about you, Punk? Do you do any crafting, and how important do you think crafting is going to be in Pantheon?
There's something I want Pantheon to do, and if they hear this, hear me now. I want to see a crafting system in a game that can replace leveling gameplay. I want to see a crafting system that, if I'm in a raiding guild and I am a high-level crafter, I am useful. Maybe I don't want to raid, but maybe I want to support the entire team, and not just with consumables, but I want to be the guy with that super, they bring me in for the raid to get me a crafting recipe so I can supply this particular piece of chainmail to all the chainmail wearers, I want to see a system like that. I want to see a system where you can build yourself up monetarily, and that's all separate from your adventuring, right? Like, there are people in this world that do that stuff, and, in one industry that never have contact with another industry, and I would love to see a separation. I mean, obviously there should be a meld, but I want it to be such a time sink that if you want to level both of those up to an extremely high level, that you have to put a lot of farm time into it. You got to put, again, a huge time sink. But if you want to focus on adventuring, you can fill out the adventuring role quicker than you do the crafting, or you can fill out the crafting role with very minimal adventuring. So, I mean, that's what I would like to see. As far as what they have intentions for, like, I don't know, have they really talked much about what they're intending to do with the crafting system? I haven't really read much on it yet.
Very, very little.
That's what I thought. And then, so again, it's that there's that open, the ability to put in new features. Go ahead.
Well, there's that video out there, the Dev DRT that they did with Corey. So there's a little bit of information in there on what their vision
gathering
is,
and whatnot,
things like that. So there's a little bit of information there that can answer some of your dire questions.
Okay, and I'll be sure to watch it again. I watched it a while ago, but I didn't remember everything. I remember there not being a ton of meat and potatoes there, but kind of hints.
Yeah.
But hopefully they will take that into account, because I mean, they're trying to make this game that is, like, if we recall older MMOs, there were a lot of time sinks, but they were fulfilling at the end. Like, you had to really work, and you would spend months trying to get one thing, and then you got it, and it was useful for a long time. And I would love to see things like that. I would love to have, like, maybe I decide that I don't want to play any of the classes. I'm too old for that crap. I just want to sit around in town and buy commodities and turn them into something and resell them to the raiding guilds,
and that's the thing, though, right? In a lot of these MMOs, even, back to the, days of EverQuest coming out, that's all people did. There were people actually committed to just crafting.
Yep.
Right.
That's all they would do, every day, but, they never got the attention, of turning it into a second advancement on its own, that also coexisted and collided, obviously, with the adventuring side of things, and had an impact. It was never considered to work that way in all these MMOs. And if you look at MMO, And you look at the vision that Brad wants to do, create worlds. Well, that also means we need to have people that craft. We need to have people that do diplomacy, this, that, and the other. We need people to protect the towns. We need the towns to advance, this, that, and the other. So that all comes into it. If they want to create a world, then crafting in itself should be its own pillar, and have that fun experience or something like well, what do you do in Pantheon? Well, I craft all day. I make goods and go out and harvest and build stuff for the city, for players, for my guild, for raids, for this, for that, and I have tons of fun doing that.
Yeah, I mean, like I'm one of 10 people on the entire server that can make this particular staff, and it took me 6 months of woodworking to become an expert to be able to make it. And I can only get the materials that I need to make it from one of the top guilds that are in raiding, because it drops from one of these big bad raid bosses, and then that material has to be broken down by this other guy, so that this gem crafter so I can put those gems into my staff. So it's like there's an economy there. There's something that's different. And I don't know, it gets me hyped, because I remember playing Final Fantasy XI, and we had this guy, I don't remember his name, but he used to just sit and camp outside of the housing district in one of the main cities, and he was known for making high quality staffs, because in that game of New Craft you can make high quality ones. So he leveled up his woodworking skill. He got a chain of supply, and he had all of these materials coming in, so that way he could make the low quality ones. But if you wanted the high quality one, you could commission him, and he would attempt to make it. And it was luck based, but he would make it. And he was one of the only guys on the server that could do that and made himself available for it. So he had a reputation for it. And I thought that was just so sick, because he was like a level 20 dude.
Right. Yeah. So we know you guys run a show called BattleAxtheatre. You mind telling us a little bit about your stream?
Well, we're currently on a break, but we do plan on doing a
That's
end
not
of the year show.
A Ross and Rachel break, though, is it?
No, we're still together. No, we're on a little bit of a break right now. As you guys know, we just wrapped up the Project Gorgon series. We've kind of done a few things here and there. We've gone on Minus's show, or well, Def has, and we've done a few things there. Def's trying out some dabbling with streaming a little bit on the weekends. We'll promote that at some point. We do have a end of the up soon, and then we'll have a follow-up video kind of addressing everything that we've done this year. And going forward, we're going to be really focusing heavily on Battle Axe Live, and we're going to be shifting it from just strictly MMORPGs and more of like a multiplayer type of game perspective. So we're going to talk about MMOs, we're going to talk about other games, we're going to allow the community to interact through community rants and things like that. So really excited for that, and we're going to kind of try to take it a step back from trying to be so serious and try to put more heart and soul into videos that are released on a less regular basis, but that are lengthier and much higher quality. So that's what we're looking forward to.
Very cool. So I know I watched your Project Gorgon series, and I tried Project Gorgon, and it just wasn't for me.
It's ugly as sin.
It is, and I'll tell you the one thing that really turned me off, and I'm pretty sure Def is going to understand. The loot windows drove me freaking bonkers.
Oh yeah.
I seriously, I rage quit that game over freaking loot windows.
Yeah.
I was just like, why?
You get your loot windows right.
You don't understand. It's like a quarter. It's like a quarter of your screen, but you only see this much of it.
Mm-hmm.
And then you get this big ugly ass border. Whenever you mouse over it, you can't click the stuff that's hitting you because your loot window's up, but you don't know what's in the loot, so you want to find out. You're just like,
dude, that was the whole inspiration of the rant video we did with damn loot boxes, man.
Yeah, I basically categorize Project Gorgon as if they ever redo their whole user experience, I'll try it again. But until then, get it away from me like it's got freaking the Black Plague or something.
Well, and you know what's crazy? If you go back and you look at other iterations of their UI that people have done in previous streams and stuff like that, other iterations of their UI actually look better than what they've got now.
Yeah,
and it's kind of weird. What's that?
No, I just wanted to say, Lex, you need to go into the game again, go into the settings and look for the accessibility settings. I'm sure you'll find something there, buddy.
He's gonna find the Lexer mode.
Except in Project Organ, it'd be like, it's Lexer mode, bracket, you asshole.
Well, and the thing is like, there's, like they have said, Eric has said in Reddit posts, on Twitter, and various other interviews and things that he's done, is that this is not the state of the game in terms of visual representation. Like, a lot of what's there is the mechanics. And, you know, I think as, you know, somebody who's mechanically inclined, Lexer, if you were to actually play the game and just try to get past that, unless you absolutely can't, you would see the beauty of it. But you have to get past that. Like, that's not going to attract a player base that's looking for, you know, a mixture of both. So it's a great game. But it makes, to bring this back to Pantheon, it kind of makes you want it more because you're looking for that visual experience that we have seen in the streams. I know I am. Like, that's one of the best things. It's not just EverQuest reskin with new graphics. It's a new game with new graphics running on better engines. Well, that's debatable, but it's like something I'm really looking forward to, and I would like to see all these other small companies like find a way to do that. Like, stop. Yeah. Like, why do we have 1 and 2 person teams and indie game dev when they could smash together and have a 5-person indie dev team and make a much better game? And I think that's kind of what Pantheon or Visionary Realms has done, is they've built a slightly larger team to accomplish a better project.
Oh yeah, and I mean, don't get me wrong, I'm not trying to bash on Project Organ because I went into that wanting to love that game.
Right.
But it's one of those things where if there's something that is annoying me, I can usually ignore it if it's something that annoys me once an hour, you know. But
yeah, but it's all the time.
Like this, yeah, it's there all the freaking time. I mean,
I actually didn't even get the game because, like, we found out about that game several months prior. We actually found out about that in one of the first Pantheon videos where it was mentioned in the comments, and I looked at it and I told Def, I was like, I can't play this game. Look at this UI. Look at that loot window. What is this? Like, it's in the way. It's not even with like the models. It's like in the actual UI. It was just so intrusive, and we didn't pick it up for like 6 months because of that.
Yeah, I mean, there is a lot of really neat stuff to that game, don't get me wrong, right? Like, the fact that you can find items in the world that NPCs actually have a use for that will help you gain reputation. That's cool.
That's
like you mentioned earlier, the frostbite. That's cool. I thought I wasn't going to enjoy the combat, but I did. So it's just...
That's one of the things, though, right? What a lot of dev companies don't quite get is... Yes, while the mechanics, the fun of the game is very important, that everything functions and works well, the UI is ultimately
your experience.
You're going to be, you know, it's the user experience. So the first time you log in, if you have a UI that is so overwhelming or so dysfunctional, it's going to throw a lot of people off. I remember that happening to me with Black Desert Online. I got thrown. I tried out the closed beta. I installed it. No, EverQuest wasn't so much the UI, but
for lack thereof.
I got thrown into that game, and everything was flashing, and it was shiny here, and bling, 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 and notifications going off all over the place.
That's a Korean
game!
I
was like, right, that's it, boom. After 5 minutes, literally after 5 minutes of just running through, not even paying attention to what was going on, hitting a few mobs, reaching level 7 after 5 minutes, I deinstalled the game and thought, you know, right, that's it, that's time well spent, 5 minutes of my time wasted, and deinstalled it, because that was just like, you know, too much. Yeah. A nice, small, smart UI.
I mean, that's exactly why we have a UI guide for EverQuest 1 on our channel, is because if anyone wants to try it and they come back, they're not going to know what the hell to do, man. It's just too much, you know. So,
too much, and it's like EverQuest was back in the dawn of the IT era almost, where, you know, the phrase user experience really meant nothing.
Right.
Yeah. And you know, things have evolved though over the years. If you look at the original WoW UI, you look at the EverQuest 2 UI, the EverQuest UI, and everything. Right? A lot of these UIs were limited. You couldn't change anything, right? And now I'm going to give credit to a Korean game. Oh my God, Terra Rising, right? Their UI was absolutely brilliant. Because
emphasis on was.
Because every element you could modify individually. You could turn it on, turn it off, resize it as a whole, resize it individually. You know, you weren't forced to use the UI that they gave you, what you start off with. You could modify it how you wanted. There were certain limitations, obviously. You couldn't put in your own modifications and this, that, and the other. But you could modify that UI however it suited you. Fit your screen smaller, this, that, and the other. And I thought, you know, that is a smart UI experience. Something where I can still mess around with the UI and make it suitable for my needs, for how I want to play the game.
Right.
And you know, it's sometimes you look at some of these games that get created and you think, you know, why don't you guys think about that from the get-go?
Yeah.
You know,
I can tell you why. Because being on the inside is not the same as being on the outside.
Yeah, but you know, I'm sorry, but a dev who's committed,
That's what she
and
said.
Exactly, a dev
Sorry.
a dev team that's committed to making games, making worlds, surely have played games themselves, and surely have seen that experience from the outside as well, looking in. So you know that
there's actually God, I can't remember what game it was. There was a guy that I was talking to. He made a game that got greenlit on Steam.
Mm-hmm.
And I was talking to him about it, and he even started laughing. He's just like, he's not a gamer. He made a game because his kid wanted something to play.
Huh.
And he's like, I don't like this game, but my kid likes it. And I'm just like, then why the hell is it on Steam?
Yeah, but at the end of the day, though, every big major game company has a QA. They have a quality assurance testing, internal testing, where they actually have people who play the game. You know, that's where the alarm should go off.
It should.
I think there's still a disconnect there, though, right? I mean, if you're internal beta, alpha testing, whatever, I think the UI is actually one of the least concerns with a developer because they're worrying about mechanics working in the game. They're worrying about graphic elements meshing properly and things like that. And then when a tester gets that in their hands, it's not so much about the UI experience. It's more about like testing the functionality of those other systems. And it kind of gets overlooked. Like, why is it 2019 and we're still putting health bars in the top left corner out of the line of sight? I mean, it doesn't make any sense when we're talking about UI. Like, you should be able to see health.
Trust me, that drives me nuts because I'm blind in my left eye.
Ah, shit.
Or you have...
if I got a big screen, I go, why did I die? That's why.
Or you have backspace where you can't even modify, sort, or anything like that.
Yeah.
As if that's going to be a feature that is actually going to break the quality of the game and give somebody an advantage when he can sort his items individually to suit his bag needs. Somebody that's nice and tidy and wants to have materials in bag A and then have items in bag B and then have consumables in bag C. Hello, it's...
For 2020,
breathe.
For 2020, we need to change our player Q&As to do this. Just think of a topic and just go with it. That's what we should do.
Yeah.
Because I mean,
get a little bit off, didn't we?
Yeah, well, I mean, but then, honestly, here's the thing though. Like, if you talk to anyone that's watched our videos, they enjoy these offshoot back and forth more than they enjoy anything else. Because they're like, I mean, I'm not trying to hit anybody's nerves or anything, but sometimes if you script things, it doesn't feel right.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
It feels like your answers are prepared, which means they might not be truthful, but that, in terms of video games, that doesn't really matter. But,
when we do BattleAxtheatre Punk, and I kind of go at it every now and then. It gets a little wild. What? Oh
Be
my
careful
God.
with your phrasing, man.
Guys, okay.
Well,
we go at it.
It's 4.5-hour drive.
Man.
So anyway,
great though, dude. We sit down on a Monday and we go, I don't really feel like streaming tonight, and then you go, I don't really either. Let's do this. It turns out great. It's awesome.
But my point is, I get what Lex is saying. Is the back and forth, just the randomness and getting, dissecting a topic and stuff like that.
Yeah, you don't know what people are going to say. You know what's being said is, exactly how the person feels.
Yeah.
And
Well, what we
So-
can do
so-
is, I got it now. Next, what we'll do is we'll stick to the the original layout. We're going to shorten it a bit, and we're going to build in a segment where we'll just bring in a random topic and then roll with it. Because at the end of the day, it is about introducing, the people in the community, to the general public and everything, and putting them out on the spotlight and helping them as well, grow and this, that, and the other. That's what this is what these Q&As are for at the end of the day. But we can definitely add in a segment where we'll just take 10, 15, 20 minutes or whatever. And we'll just roll with the topic.
10, 20 minutes, he says.
5 hours later.
But we'll move on.
Okay.
Hang on.
No hanging on. No.
He wants to rant more about the bags, man. Let him go.
Yeah, let me go, man. It's important.
Trust me, I got rants too. Still.
And they should be made out of plastic.
We have to take a stand for a greener Terminus.
Well, the grass does grow in Terminus, so no.
You think it does? That's just because you went from playing a human to a dwarf.
That's a good one.
Yeah. So I'm curious, how did you two meet?
Yep, this is what I wanted to ask you guys forever.
Well, Punk was actually my asshole guild leader. And I'm kidding.
Here we go. The truth is out.
He's not the only one who said it.
No, but my first raiding experience was in a guild called Unlimited. It's kind of like everyone in the BattleAxe community on our Discord is kind of how we all know each other is through that guild. And Punk was actually our guild leader. And so,
Hence
I don't know,
was.
how long have I known you, Punk? Like 10 years?
Yeah, since 2009.
2009, yeah.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yep. So, yeah, that's how we met. So I was the I was the guild leader. I had a guild going all the way back to back to my mud days, and it's kind of been different iterations of it. And a lot of what created that guild was being in hardcore guilds, and then also being in super casual guilds, and saying, why can't you have a mix of both? Why does it have to be a bunch of a-holes? Or why does it have to be a bunch of people who don't want to do anything that is endgame? So why can't you have both communities in a single community where the people who are hardcore all the time can help out the ones that are casual and not be a-holes about helping the people that are casual?
Because a lot of people take that hardcore elitist badge and assume they have the right to be an asshole.
Yeah,
Yep.
and it's a huge problem, and that's
Speaking
why.
from
because I
experience,
was
Lecter.
one.
Speaking from experience, Lecter.
I am.
Well, the thing is you can be an elitist a-hole too, but when you've got a guild and you've established this family, if you will, those people, you could be an a-hole, you can be a dick, whatever, to the people out there, but your internal community, those are your family members. Those are the people that, even though they play casually, they're there every week with you. They're the ones supplying crafting materials. Exactly. Yeah, and when we used to do events where we would just do fishing events or hide and seek, which was silly. Back in Final Fantasy XI, we would do goblin tag, where you'd run out to Valkyrum Dunes as a level 1 and try to chase around goblins without being seen. So we just used to do fun stuff like that, and it really brought us together as a community. And that's how we've known each other for so long, as because of that. And like he said, there's several other people in BattleAxe that we have met in real life, and we're actually real life friends with because of a guild on the internet and video games.
It's crazy, isn't it?
Yeah.
Yep.
So, what made you guys decide to get into streaming? Yeah.
Well, I've always wanted to edit videos, and I just went to Punk one day. There was some had a lot of downtime, if you will, and something I've always been kind of passionate about. And I just went with Punk with his over analytical brain, and I'm like, this is what I want to do, and then we just kind of started doing it. Yeah.
Yeah, I actually dabbled a little bit with Mixer, you know, just kind of playing around with it. Because Def he was streaming, you know, and I was streaming, but we weren't like really taking it seriously. Like, he was just popping on every once in a while, and he was doing Twitch, and I was like, well, this new community, Mixer seems really cool. So I started doing some streaming over there, and I went from, you know, the little headset microphone over to this microphone, and then lighting, and then green screen. And it was all just a hobby, right? But then at some point, we were just like, let's actually do something with this, and here we are.
Nice.
Were you on Mixer before it was Mixer back when it was Beam.pro?
I switched over to Mixer a couple months after it went from Beam to Mixer. And it was very interesting. It was almost all Xbox community for the most part. There was a sprinkling of PlayStation, but predominantly it was consoles. But what was crazy is that the PC streamers over there were huge. So the ones that actually did stream PC games over there, they were big. It was just a really weird environment.
I wasn't.
What's that?
I wasn't.
Yeah, but then didn't you stream on Twitch and Mixer like we did with the VoT show originally? When we went
I did, but like my streams were more of just trying to do crazy shit. Like with Mixer and Twitch, I had something where people could mess with my keyboard and my mouse and my monitors. Like they could spend channel currency, which you earned by watching me, to do a command that would shut off my monitor.
Oh yeah, the Mixer like interaction tools.
Yeah.
Because that was before Twitch had things like that, and even now it's just only for certain games. But the Mixer capabilities, like I used to watch this Mixer streamer where you could actually, they would be on 24 hours a day, and then you could use the on-screen commands to play old school emulator like RPGs on their screen, and you get access to it for like a minute, and then somebody else would get access to it for a minute, and it was just crazy. You would just hit the buttons and walk around.
Yeah, I saw that one. Those were neat.
Yep.
Very cool. So what can people expect to see in the future with BxT?
What do you want to do? You want to just tell them everything, or do we save stuff for our stuff?
You could say to be determined.
Yeah.
You could say we can't talk about this right now, you know.
Exactly.
But see, I'm fine to talk about it because I talk.
Let's talk about it.
So I mean, I've already mentioned what we're looking forward to. So again, just like subscribe to our channel. You know, be sure to follow us on Facebook. Be sure to follow us on Twitter. Facebook doesn't get updated too much because there's not a ton of people following there, and it's just a different type of dynamic. But Twitter is pretty active. We're changing formats a little bit. In the past, we've tried different things. If you guys have followed us this year, we've tried things where we've tried doing weekly videos on random topics, whatever we wanted to talk about. There was a big stint on Pantheon. There was random games. We tried Warframe, and then we tried a whole bunch of games over the last year and a half, or formats in the last year and a half. And this last one was a really neat process, and we actually ended up putting out those videos. And you guys were watching 2 months worth of videos, and we weren't actually recording at the time. So just a really neat little concept, and it gave us some time to wrap our head around things. And if you look at, like, I'll give you a good example. There's a channel out there called Veritasium on YouTube. They don't put out videos regularly, but when they do put out a video, it's huge. They get millions of hits because it's produced. And it's not produced in the sense of, it is produced, like Hollywood style or whatever, with the professional effects. Yeah, professional.
Yeah.
But it's produced in the sense of, like, it's a longer video, it makes sense, the B-roll makes sense, all of that makes sense. And that's what we want to try to accomplish, because if you've been following BattleAxe, you know that what we do is we try to invoke emotion and thought with the content we produce.
Yeah.
And that's
more passion into each project that we put out.
So there may not be a weekly timeline, but we're going to put out videos as they become available, and we're going to put a lot of our focus into BattleAxe Live because it's a little easier to set up. We like the conversation. It's like hanging out with your buddies, having a beer. And I don't just mean me and him, I mean the chat as well. So that's what we're really looking forward to, because as you guys know, we haven't done that in a while, BattleLive rather. So we're really looking forward to getting that started again in the new year.
Cool, yeah. Feel free, guys, to also post those links to Twitter, Facebook. Your Discord, is it open for anybody?
Yes, if anybody watches our videos, Discord there, just click on that. What's up?
Oh, you cut out for a minute.
Oh, well.
Good old Discord.
Yay!
But yeah, if you watch our videos, just open the description of the video and click on our Discord link. It's open for anyone to join. The bot seems to be messed up right now. It's not assigning roles, so we'll assign everybody a guest role. The more activity you show within the Discord, the more the games that you play with us, you get promotions and stuff based off that. It's kind of like a subsidiary thing. Like, it doesn't really matter right now, but we plan on doing something with it in the future.
So, in regards to Pantheon, obviously, I thought you guys will want to stream it, yes?
Yeah,
Absolutely.
Cool. So we've already established the final question, so Josh, bring us in to the outro.
Perfect. Would you attend a Pantheon type event, and how would you travel to get there?
I would fly. And yeah, I would love to attend one. I would love to meet all you guys, all the people from the Pantheon community, and get to just be together in real life and maybe have a beer. That'd be sick.
Yeah, great.
Yeah.
It'd be super cool if we had like a meetup in Arkansas, because nothing ever happens here, and I wouldn't have to go anywhere.
See, I was thinking the same thing. Like, everyone needs to go to Cleveland.
Yeah, I don't know. Like, I would
I've been there. I don't want to go back.
But yeah, like events in like a major city, like I don't know, like I think a meetup like PAX South, that's our way. So like if VR decided to do like a Pantheon or not Pantheon, a PAX tour and went to all the different PAXs, that'd be kind of cool. That way everybody around the country would be able to do things. And some of us who decide like maybe we meet somebody at one and find they're going to another one, we might travel halfway across the country to go hang out with them again.
Yeah,
I think it'd be really cool. Like I'm from Florida, and I got to go back to visit, and Minus is from down there. So I plan on meeting up with him sometime. I've been wanting to meet up with Nathan and all the guys standing in fire. And if you guys were over in this neck of the woods, I'd meet up with you guys too.
Someday I will be going to. Someday I will go to PAX East.
So I've got the idea, right? We're going to have to all fund this and help VR get this sorted. We'll actually fund VR a military plane, right?
Oh, hell no.
And then they can travel around the world, right? And pick everybody up. We'll get onto this plane again and again. And we have like a massive Pantheon for like a week. And then it lands, brings everybody back individually. That would be it.
They just lower the car and push over.
Exactly. You get a parachute. See how you save full score is.
I'm Richard Bronson. I don't have that kind of money.
You can't tell. As I said, you can't tell because of where the camera is, but I'm a man who enjoys eating. So there will be no funding a military-style plane because I need my food.
That would be super cool. That would be the most unique launch event ever. Week prior, they just fly around and pick people up, and then they float in the stratosphere, and like we're up there just like playing the final beta version of the game a week before it comes out. Like they could sell that and make even more money for development. Because there's people that are out there like backing it for like 10 grand.
You could even sell a seat on the plane for like 20 grand.
Yeah,
people would buy that. Seriously.
They would.
Yeah.
Hell, some of us would buy it for the experience.
Exactly. So, VR, speak to your sponsors and people that...
Get back with us.
Yeah.
Well, see, I'm going to generally be against that because this white boy don't fly.
No, Lex he needs a bus tour.
He needs an accessibility. He needs an accessibility spot.
That's right.
Dude, I would totally ride on a VR bus that stops for like barbecue all through the South. I'd
Hell yeah.
like that. That'd be awesome.
I have a horse here in Texas you could borrow.
Oddly enough, I know how to ride a horse.
Okay.
I'm not going to say I do it well. Wow. It involves holding on for your life and going out my ass.
Yeah. I got the man.
I do too. Oh, I do too. Except mine are for motorcycles, so I look a little weird.
Oh, okay.
Nothing new though. Let's use our imaginations a little bit here. Let's fast forward 3 years from now. What do you think Pantheon has become by then? Start with you, Punk.
Pre-alpha.
Stole my answer, bro.
I'm sorry. No, I think if they haven't given us any timelines or dates or anything like that, but I think the expectation is by 2022 we're going to see a launch at some point. And I think if they have enough hype built around them, they have Ko, who is this massive streamer who has hype built around him that he can then utilize to promote that game. You've got other people that are big in other streaming communities that are following the game, maybe not closely, but they're following it. And they've got enough exposure that when the game finally goes live, you've got your people that are sub to it and whatnot, or pledged to it. But I think if it launches and it launches well, and any bugs are worked out initially, and we can tell our friends, hey, like I'm not going to go tell people on reg to come play Project Gorgon with me because I know the graphics aren't going to sell. But if the graphics are good, the mechanics are good, everything feels kosher. When we present that to our friends and that are playing WoW, that are playing Final Fantasy 14, that are playing BDO, that are playing Forge 2, and they see this, and then especially with the old schoolers, they're going to flock to that, and I think it's going to be a tipping point. And either one or two things are going to happen. The genre's dead. It's either going to be dead, and it's going to be what it is, and that is going to be a game that caters to 100,000 people that play it, or it's going to flip the lights back on for the genre, and we're going to have, a
whole wave of innovation.
Yes, and that's what I'm looking forward to. And I think they've got the right idea, and I hope they can grow. They can build the developer base, and I hope they can, build their, their internal team, so that way we can start getting more innovative ideas. I want to see them consume some of these small companies that are developing games that they just can't finish or do properly because they're a coder, an engineer, and they're not a graphist. Yeah. So I'd love to see all of that kind of come together and culminate into a new Blizzard, a new SOE or something. I think it would be super sick.
Yeah, that's the big problem with these companies nowadays, especially with the market that they've got. They don't take these risks anymore. They don't invest the money in the right ways. And the thing is, let's be honest, right? There's so many people out there, and we've all done this. We've all said, to hell with this game. I've had enough of this game. Yada, yada, yada. We quit for a few months or a few years, but we've always gone back to it. No matter how much we hate our games, and we complain and moan about them. It's the same with Pantheon. There's a lot of people out there that, they see it as vaporware, it's going to fail, it's not going to be released, this, that, and the other. I guarantee you, those are going to be the first ones that play it when it comes out. Period.
Yeah, they're going to be the ones that don't pledge. They wait to hear how good it is, and it's got 4.8 out of 5 stars after it's released, and then they're going to go and they're going to be the one to play it until their potato computer can't play it anymore, kind of thing.
And then they go and spend like $3,000 on a new PC just to play Pantheon.
those people are going to see that it comes out, even if some people say it's alright, or it's met with moderate or lukewarm reviews. They'll still buy it. They'll play it, and they'll be the ones that complain that they don't have all this fancy stuff that all these other people have from the pledges. And it's like, you were one of those idiots sitting there going, it's never gonna release! It's like, but now you're sitting there going, you just need something to complain about. It's like, somebody pay attention to me because nobody loves me!
Well, and here's the thing though, is like, I'm in the camp of the whole non-pre thing. So I don't know if you guys are aware, there's this whole don't pre-order things, because we keep getting these games that are launched that are not.
That's totally legit, and we're all on that boat. We're all on the same page as you.
Right. It's just that, like, so but then I guess what I'm saying is I can understand, the whole hesitation pledging because of the fact that some people might not have the money just to throw away if something doesn't come to fruition, and whatever that is, what it.
No, but you're absolutely right though. That's it. At the end of the day,
I look at it as, if you think it's vaporware, that's perfectly valid. That's fine. If you don't want to play, that's fine. there's no problem. But the fact that you feel you have to be vocal about it
Yes, I hate that.
is pathetic.
Yeah.
Like, don't go around and preach and just say it's vaporware, because you don't know. I mean, we've seen proof that it's not. I mean, it's like legitimate hardcore evidence. This isn't just a single con or a handful of cons they went to and showed video footage of some stuff that they pre-prepared. Like, we were watching this stuff happen live on stream countless times, over and over. And even back early last year, in the middle of last year, we had people like Basdom and others that were streaming it that were just kind of one-off streams. So we know it's not just pre-prepared for Co. We've got other people that are playing it. So it's a game. Like, they could just dump it right now when we have a game. Yeah.
It's playable. There's just it needs refinement and it needs content.
Right.
Period.
And the thing is, right, and it's not just the genre that's to blame, though, right? With the whole attitude that we have, and you know the mixed opinions, right? It's the complete gaming industry. They've gone down a path where they've gotten comfortable. And it's about milking the cow until all that cash that they can grab is flushed out. That's what it's all about now. Nobody's being innovative. Nobody's taking risks anymore. I mean, look at the advancements MMOs have made. There's hardly any.
Yeah.
There's hardly been any advancements made with the MMO genre.
The last advancement was going to an action MMO, which was totally different at the time.
Lex, you might have been there for the conversation that we were having with Chris. I can't remember when we were doing the Pantheon plus you one night, where we were just hanging out in the green room, and there was this conversation about how the industry in and of itself for MMOs, it's dead because of what Yarn said. Like, there's people are just making clones. There's nobody wants to go out and try something. Pantheon's doing that, but at the same time, there's a lot of traditional still there. Yeah. And I think really what has to happen is, like, if you look at MMOs, I mean, like, I can't count the number of MMOs that exist. My fingers and toes in my entire families and all your guys.
Crazy. Right?
There's that many MMOs. So what does that do? It creates like this ADD within the genre. Like, so you know, back in the day, we played EverQuest because your alternative was Dark Age of Camelot, Asheron's Call, or Final Fantasy XI. Like, that was kind of like the extent of what you had available. So you kind of just pick one, and then maybe you got bored, so you created your own entertainment. Beth and I were talking about this the other night. It wasn't like, well, what new MMOs are out? But then that got progressively, that became the mentality is, if you got bored after playing an MMO for a month, well, you can cancel your sub and go try out this other one. Or you can try one of these 500 free-to-play games. Mm-hmm. And the problem is there's nothing new. But then you look at games like Fortnite. Fortnite is not an MMO, but it disrupted the gaming industry as a whole with this battle royale. PUBG, same thing, H1Z1. Like, these games, it was a whole new thing, and that's what the MMO was back in 1999. It was new. We took these. Go ahead.
I was going to say, and I think all these other modern games that are out there all have sprinkles of MMO elements into it. You know, everything has a progression system. Everything is instantly upgraded, or you're working towards a better weapon. And I never played Fortnite, but in Fortnite, for example, you know, all these elements that were new back in the day aren't new anymore. Now you play Call of Duty and you're progressing a character, you have a leveling system or something like that, you know?
Yeah, and it really is a state of comfortability and almost an AD thing. And until the industry says, okay, the next new hot thing is a VR MMO or a very heavily AI MMO that makes you feel totally immersed, or a combination of both, I think we're just going to see more of the same in this constant cycle.
Right. I mean, I'm not even pretending to slot that I can pronounce your name, so I was going to say Farside Chat. I mean, that's the same sentiment that I have, that there really is no one person to blame here, you know, because the game developers, they kind of bow to the demands of the publishers. Publishers are just suits that don't know anything about the industry, just want to sell stuff to people, and we the gamers sit there and accept it. Everybody is to blame.
Yeah.
Nobody is trying to make things.
It's circular. I mean, it's us
right.
and them. Like,
and
here, put our foot down.
Yeah, and here we have VR, who's finally saying, you know what, we're not just going to put out something that's going to last 3 years, make some money, and walk away. We're going to put our blood, sweat, and tears into this thing, and dedicate what could be a decade or more to this project.
Yeah, but on top of that, though, is they're not going to cater as well. They're not going to cater to what the player masses say.
I'm not going to say they won't. I am going to say they're not going to cater to the masses, but I am going to say that they will make changes based upon things that might be needed. Yeah, that will help people.
Mm-hmm.
As long as they stick to their core ideals, I think that's the important part. When they start giving these like casual players asking for more and more and more to make their 30 minutes of gameplay every night better, this is not the game for you. Go play something else. And I don't mean that offensively. I mean that like this is a little in the game.
You will be happier somewhere else.
Yeah,
we want you to be happier.
Yeah, I mean, WoW can cater to that. If you want that sense of community, there's a hybrid thing out now called WoW Classic, where it's got a little bit of the old school mixed with World of Warcraft, and it's got that casual feel, but it also has some
as long as
progression.
As long as they keep the healthy balance, right, and don't overdo it, like one game already has, and why it's still in whatever stage it is, Star Citizen. Star Citizen basically took everybody's response and tried to put everybody's idea into the game. And that's why that game hasn't progressed, or progressed really slow, because he tried to cater to the masses.
And while that does suck, though, let me be the devil's advocate here. It seems like we're getting closer to launch for Star Citizen.
Yeah.
And some of the demo footage and the demo playability that's there is really good.
It is brilliant. Don't get me wrong, it is brilliant. But, it's one of those things where you have to be very careful.
Yeah.
Because especially with that game being in early access, early access became the devil's advocate, became the devil within the industry. And it's been seen as that. And that's why companies that do a Kickstarter, like Pantheon, other legitimate indie companies that try and go on to Kickstarter, they don't get that attention or that support, because these things get manipulated by the companies that go through early access and think, hey, guess what? We'll go early access because there's absolutely no risk to our game. There's no risk to the business. If it goes tits up, it goes tits up. There's absolutely zero risk for us. And we can have people actually help fund the game's development, pay for the employees, this, that, and the other, without any risk to ourselves. And that's what the problem is. They've gotten too much leeway, and nobody's jumping in and sorting that crap out. Because at the end of the day, it makes no sense. I can't take money off of people and then just go, I'm done. Doesn't matter what kind of risk I've taken. Right? I know that I'm getting, I know I'm putting money forward to support something, but there has to be something that protects everybody involved, the company itself and the people who are investing or helping support.
Especially, a lot of that is on us, man. Really is.
Definitely. Because we cater to it. We throw cash wherever we can. Oh, new one. I'll put $50 towards it. Oh, I'll upgrade my pledge here. I'll go and put my Kickstarter on. Complain. And then it happens again, and guess what? We'll throw money at it again.
We're going to have to get together and talk about this as a full stream, because there's some topics here we could talk for hours on.
Definitely. So, Death.
But I need to quit.
So, Death.
Yes,
Let's go. I'm going to bring this back in because we heard already Punk's answer. The question that Lex asked him about it feels like 40 minutes ago. Fast forward 3 years. What do you imagine Pantheon to have evolved into? I'm taking this question for you, Lex, because I know you're not following quite. So your answer, Def.
Well, since Pantheon recently has come out of the dark, it's kind of given me more of an optimistic attitude. I know they have a long ways to go, but I'm hoping in 3 years it's launched. I'm hoping, we're not going to be out for in 3 years. But I guess what I'm saying is, we got the new newsletter format. They're giving us little nuggets here and there. They're giving us way more since they started that new format than they have in a long, long time. So seems like things are the ball's starting to roll. So I imagine it's going to be out in 3 years. I'm guessing it'll come out, maybe 2022. I think maybe pre-alpha will start sometime this year. There's some
Well, that's going to be a.
Yeah.
You've got 22 days, 23 days VR.
2020
VR, let's go.
2020 pre-alpha.
Well, it's just
December 25th, 2019.
well, just like we were,
Christmas present.
just like we were talking to Baz that one time where he made just as an example, was like, you know,
That was the.
alpha
in
in
the year
in June. I'm like, dude, you got 3 months.
Yeah. So, scrap all the questions, everything we discussed, because that was just, it was just
We know why we're really here, okay?
Exactly.
You were here to flop out one of our
There's
egos.
one question that trumps it all. That trumps it all, right? Who is the VoT host with the most?
There is a wrong answer.
Does this count past co-host?
Oh man, I hate this question.
Come on, dude. Rosy cheeks, just say it.
Okay.
Shy.
Yeah, she's.
I vote for Shy, a vote for me, so I
Oh
agree.
yeah.
Oh, yeah.
In the chat, she's always so nice and sweet, so yeah.
Aw.
Shy's got me.
Yes, we don't Shy.
That way I don't have to get
Hey, don't mess with him. I like him. Keep going.
This question is always difficult, and honestly, it's one of the reasons that
It took you so long to say yes to come onto the show.
Yeah, I mean, because you put us on the spot. Like, how could you be like, well, I like you, but not as much as him or her? Like, no, even so. I like you guys all. Like, you're all great. Like, you're all fun to hang out with when we've been in other chats and stuff. But Lexer, he's my man. Like, he gets me. He's like me. Where we share sentiments, and it's okay to say what's on your mind sometimes, and you can be an a-hole when you do it, and it's okay to burn those bridges because sometimes they need to be burned down, and I just identify with that. But I mean, you guys all do a great job here. You've been doing this for years. Like, I respect everything that you guys do. So this is very difficult. But again, Lexer's a lot like me, and I feel it.
And I want to follow up. We've been looking forward to coming on the show for a long time. So thank you again for having us.
I'm gonna admit that this show was a long time coming and one that I was looking forward to because I really like your guys' show. I like your videos, so it's kind of like
Thanks, man.
I kind of sit there, when the hell are we gonna have you guys on the show?
Yeah, but to jump back on what you said earlier on, we can definitely set up some streams next year for us to just sit down and pick a topic and just go with it.
Yeah.
We'll definitely.
Yeah, I do recall some conversations being had about a tavern talk. So
Yeah.
if you guys ever decide to do that platform, we're on it. Let's do it.
And that being said, we'd love to have some of you guys on the or all of you guys on the BattleAxtheatre show once it comes back. Probably can't do everybody at once, but
Yeah.
You just say when. I'm a busy guy, but I will find the time.
All
But
right.
that goes to any Pantheon content creator too. It may not be super soon, but I will find time.
Yeah.
we know how long it took us to come on here, so.
But we're gonna get Josh first.
The thing is,
so
right,
he has a chance to-
As you should.
Yeah, you should. Josh has always been ignored, right? He's always been ignored.
What did you say?
Well, you know how the old newsletters that they do these community member spotlights.
Mhm.
I've even said to Yard orders, when the hell is Josh getting on this thing? It's like, well, you have news. I don't care. I don't want to be on it, but Josh should be on this thing.
Anyway,
He deals with a lot of shit.
it was great to have you guys on. It was a lot of fun.
Thank
We'll
you.
definitely be doing this again. But for everybody out there, that concludes our year. We'll be going on break now till the 18th of January is when we'll come back. We'll be sitting down with Thorndeep. with a player Q&A to kick us off, because that's, you know, the most comfortable, easiest, and smooth way to get back into it. So we'll be sitting down with him.
You forget to start the show?
No, I know you have a question, Shah. We'll get into that in a minute. I just want to quickly give out this information. So we won't be there until next year. Shai, your question for these guys?
Let me pull it up. It is from Pantheon Stibs. How do you feel about high-level mobs in lower-level areas, like Fetty Dugar in Butcherlock and Minotaur Hero in Steamfont Mountains? I like the idea of random high-level mobs terrorizing the lower-level players from time to time, needing help from the higher-level players. What's your thought?
I personally love it. I love, because, you know, that sense of danger where you have to, like, go a certain pathway to avoid that mob, and then 10 levels later you can come back and destroy it. So.
I like the dynamic take that's been taken on in some other conversations with other streams and other Discord channels, where you have the concept of an NPC becoming something more than just a no-name NPC. You know, it starts off, there's a butcher guy, not a butcher, but he's labeled as a butcher because he's a bandit that kills people. And then he grows and he wanders territory and he grows in level. And eventually he comes back to round his brothers back up, the other bandits. And you've got to, you know, get other players to keep this guy from controlling a region. I think that's a really sick concept. And I think it's something nice to get higher level players to interact with lower level players. So I'm all for it, but do more than just the traditional of slapping a Fell Reaver in Hellfire Mountains. Like actually put, you know, some AI behind it that makes sense and some lore.
Yeah.
Yep, so that's our final show for this year. Next Thursday, Pantheon Plus will be doing their show at 9 p.m. Eastern, right? Lex?
Yes.
BattleAxe, you guys should know. Yeah, so it's 9 p.m. Eastern next week on Thursday. I don't know. Next week should be, unless that's been pushed back because of what happened. VR doing their newsletter, right? It's bi-weekly.
I haven't heard anything, but I'm going to assume it's still going ahead.
Now, VR did mention in the last stream, the newsletter stream, that they were going to also be doing a co-stream next week, did they not?
On the 12th, yeah.
Alright, so that'll be the
Noon
12th
Pacific.
then. Okay.
Noon
So-
Pacific on Coast.
I just don't know if that's going to take place of them doing a newsletter.
Yeah,
'cause
that will most likely take place. Yeah, I think
Yeah.
it will. 'Cause I think they mentioned as well that their newsletters aren't always going to be newsletters. It's going to be stuff showing off some stuff, this, that, and the other. So on the 12th, you heard it. There you go. On the 12th, VR will be streaming with Co, showing off some of the features that they've been working on. And as far as I remember, it's not going to be a Project Faithar stream. That's what I think was the incentive as well. They're going to show off some of the new mechanics, but
They're showing
not
off perfect. Well.
yeah, some of the new mechanics that they've made progress on. So I expect if, since Shai's mentioned that Amber Fate, we'll see a lot of the climbing features, advancements that they've made.
All I'm going to do is I'm just going to pray that they have things worked a little more so it doesn't look like you're pooping when you're hanging on the ledge.
So that's happening next week, and Pantheon Plus U will be streaming on the Thursday at 9 p.m. Eastern.
Come hang out in the green room.
Yep. Come join their green room on their Discord. It's always fun when I ever get the chance to be around. I've always enjoyed myself there. Goes on for a long time after. A lot of funny chat going on there. We'll see you all next year. Hopefully freshened up. Hopefully I'll have my new rig by then. My new setup and everything.
Hopefully I'll be sober by the 18th.
And you know, we're looking forward to presenting you guys with a few needed updates with our show that we're gonna have a look at and see what we can do to spice it up a bit, because hey, you know, it needs to happen every now and then. Need to spice things up. So yeah.
That's what she said.
Thanks for joining us, BattleAxe. Guys,
Yes, sir.
Thanks for having us.
everyone have a wonderful Christmas. wonderful new year, should we not speak and see each other. Obviously pending, thanks Lex, obviously pending what VR do. If they do any kind of stream, believe me and Lex at least will definitely be there, all depending on the time. For Josh, we will be there to do a post stream. So you might see us on the 12th. I'm not guaranteeing, but you might.
All depends on how much Aaron hates me.
Anyway, with that,
You'll find a
take
way.
care everyone.
Yeah.
Later, guys.
Cheers, guys. Take care.
Have happy holidays.